Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to another national anthem reaction videos, where tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we travel south from Mexico and we find ourselves in the small nation of Ecuador, situated just southwest of Colombia. And if you were to travel roughly 50 miles northwest of Quito and you traveled 100 miles upstream, you would be able to find yourself in Panama. And of course, certainly as you got around here, here is Ecuador right here, situated, like I said, between Colombia and Peru. And you've got Panama to look forward to, Costa Rica, and various smaller, I think it's meant to be smaller nations before. Again, you end up here in what I said again, the Yucatan Peninsula, and in basically Mexico from right here. So Ecuador is sort of basically almost like one of the small gateways between the South and the North Americans. And it also says something very interesting about how many other South American nations we still have to cover, because we've covered almost all of them, all the way down to Ushuaia, all the way down here. I know it's got a very specific name, but it's basically translates to the end of the world, as it's the gateway to Antarctica from the bottom of Argentina. But we still remember, we've also got things like Panama, Costa Rica, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guinea. Is it French Guinea or French Guinea to look forward to? And among other things worth mentioning, I do like their national flag. It has sort of resemblance to the likes of Colombia and Venezuela, but it's also accompanied by a bald eagle carrying what looks like either just like a small picture or perhaps even a mirror, almost like a gateway to mountainous terrain covered by a river and a small boat on it, which, ironically, I think Ecuador might be the only nation on Earth whose flag contains a boat, but I might possibly be mistaken. I'll see if I can look this up later, but that's very interesting to know. I think it is literally the only nation to have a boat on its flag. So if you're ever thinking about that, ladies and gentlemen, there you are. Now, among other things, Ecuador is also home to the Galapagos Islands. And if we just take a look here, I mean, first of all, look at these right here. Just sea lions or seals just wallowing on this beautiful golden beach. And of course, again, look how clear this is, like being all the way back in Fiji or all across the oceanic islands, and it's clean, and you could drop a stone from this raft here and literally watch it sink to the very bottom. Snapping turtles, and just what looks like the results of like a volcanic eruption have just scattered miniature little islands across in volcanic debris. And it goes even further. It even looks like just small islands contained even beneath the surface. And of course the ripples from dunes of sand where the tides must have just rolled in off the surface. And just look at that there. There must be, like, you know, those sorts of videos we get into, ladies and gentlemen, about 1 hour across the Galapagos, an hour across Fiji. There must be videos of like that in about Ecuador, and well, as outside of how Ecuador became the most dangerous country in South America 1 day ago. Huh. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I know that again tensions between like a more like Venezuela and Colombia are quite high, but I would have thought like maybe Ecuador's would be, and even Panama would be a little bit more peaceful. Well, again, without wanting to like go too much into it, it's again one of those sorts of things I do want to like explore a little bit more when it comes to the translations of these videos, because I do sort of, at the very least, want to keep things relatively small and just explore parts of the world that I never thought about talking about in brief detail. Because when we come to a more in-depth analysis and research, there's going to be an awful lot. Is that the famous Cotopaxi? It is Cotopaxi. Which, again, might make this one of the other new countries to explore that has an active volcano taking part. That shot there is fun. I would love to get a shot of that. And then probably run away, because knowing my luck, I would set foot and it would erupt immediately. I think that's what they call a bad omen. But besides all that, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to rise at all, ladies and gentlemen, for the national anthem of Ecuador. Take care, and let's get started. I nearly ended the video right there, but never mind. Salve, O Patria. We salute you, our homeland. Listening to this for only a few seconds, it makes me feel as though I hope to God that the story about how Ecuador is now the most dangerous country in South America is greatly exaggerated, because this anthem is joyous, it's lovely, it's soft and jubilant. Which is, again, it's very for the course for a lot of South American countries, but you know what? There's a genuine joy and love that must have gone into this, and just that it's an example to be followed. That's what I say. Bravo, gracias, por favor. Again, I am like so completely out of my depth or out of my comfort zone, because That was gorgeous. That was just, it was bright, vibrant, beautifully engineered, crafted, and it was comfortable. And it was the sort of, again, very similar to what we did for Mexico's national anthem. It's about giving thanks and praise to those who are ready to fight and die for their nation. And it's what it expands. Your breast overflows with joy and peace. It makes you think, again, that the accusations about Ecuador being dangerous are greatly exaggerated, because I'm not going to say one on the top of my head that things are 100% peaceful and all that. You get riffraff in every corner of the world. But it's also one of those things where actually just being able to learn Spanish and actually being able to sing this without fault is the sort of thing that I wish we could just... This is what, again, if you know anything at all about the English national anthem, you know fine well, and I know that it doesn't even compare to this or to Colombia's national anthem, Argentina, the French, the Germans, the Japanese, the Brazilians, the Colombians, the Mexicans, the Canadians, the Icelandics, the Finns, the Swedish, the Turkish, the Syrians, the Afghanistans, the South Africans, because it's jubilant. It's supposed to be inspiring and refreshing. It's supposed to stir something in your very breast. And it even uses some of the phrases that we heard in Himno Nacional de Mexicano. God observed and accepted that sacrifice, and this blood was the prolific seed. It was the acknowledgement that what we did for liberty and for truth and for justice, they were not done in vain. We won, and your radiant face is brighter than the sun shining we see. It is the fact that nobility is the greatest virtue of the 21st century. And I don't know if this is just something that is greatly talked about, but that's some of the best qualities you could have in a national anthem, is you have nobility, and it's of pride, of something to be proud of and to be proud for. And that fighting for your cause is about the greatest single thing that a human being can do for their home. Because everybody has a place they can call home, ladies and gentlemen. And it's not about what your home can do for you. It's about what you can do for your home. And that makes, honestly, this probably one of my favorites yet. If I ever did like a top list of the best national anthems, this would place quite high on the list. But then again, the competition is like really, really stiff anyway. But I can't wait for the translation video for this, ladies and gentlemen. I know fine well it's going to be brilliant. And actually, just before we go, there is like a funny little story I did want to share about Ecuador. Is that for anyone who ever watched the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, you may remember that Ecuador was in the very first match against Qatar. And the great joke we had at my old place of work, because we had this thing where we all drew countries out of a hat, and we would have to back them for the World Cup, so we would like win a prize. I got Spain, by the way, which lost to Morocco, interestingly enough. But again, the first match of the 2022 World Cup in Qatar was between old rivalries, Qatar and Ecuador. You know, that incredibly long-standing rivalry in football between two nations that may have had one or two games of football or any sort of competitive sporting contest, be it Olympics or... The video went blank there for a second. So yeah, I often... So I cited it just about how the great battles of yore between Ecuador and Qatar played out. And I think it's even the Qatarians even had... I think both Ecuador and Qatar had a very special term to describe both people as far as their sporting fans go. A shower of bastards. Yeah, that must have been the one. I mean, you got to somehow draw a rivalry out of this somehow. Otherwise, it's two nations that you never would have thought would have been fighting together in any ways. But then again, wasn't it like Saudi Arabia beat Germany something that World Cup? I know there was like a special upset. There were quite a few upsets during that World Cup. Like I said, Morocco defeating Spain. No, was it Morocco defeated Portugal? It was Morocco beat one of those two. I must find that out as soon as it's done. Until then, good, bad. And I hope all of you guys have enjoyed this reaction video to Ecuador's national anthem. Please make sure to leave all your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys felt of Ecuador's national anthem for yourselves. And I can't wait to love you guys again in the next video. Take care and bye-bye for now.